I don't usually like to talk about who's overrated or underrated because the scale typically shifts depending on the context. For instance, an Orlando Magic fan would probably and rightfully think that their second best player, Franz Wagner, deserves to be an all-star this season, the same way most NBA fans would probably agree that Jamal Murray has been massively overrated as Nikola Jokic's second option to start the year. However, I would have to say that the OKC Thunder's second option, Jalen Williams or Jdub, is definitely underrated. Well, for sure, most people think he's already good, but I'm saying that he's actually more than that, as in he's one of the best 15 players in the NBA this season. After 25 games played, Jdub is currently averaging more than 21 points, 6.1 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and zero point 0.8 blocks per contest, all of which are career-high numbers. Add to that his 58.8 true shooting percentage, which ranks in the 85th percentile of the NBA, as well as his 6.6 plus-minus rating and his 27.4 usage rate, which both rank in the 90th percentile of the league, and you basically have someone who's got the profile of a number one option, who in this case just happens to be in the same team as a current top 3 player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Looking at it, there are only 6 other players this season other than Jdub who's currently averaging at least 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists on at least 58% true shooting, and they are Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Domantas Sabonis. That's a list which includes 3 current MVP contenders, 2 perennial All-NBA players, and an All-Star level big man. But then, even going back to last season, there were a total of only 9 players who put up the same 25-5 stat line on at least 58% true shooting. Giannis, Nikola Jokic, SGA, Luka Doncic, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Zion Williamson, and Jimmy Butler. 6 of those players made an all-star team last season, including all 5 Western Conference starters, and while Kyrie, Butler, and Williamson weren't all-stars last season, all 3 of them still put up at least 25-5 on at least 58% true shooting during the season they last made the all-star team. So basically, recent history tells us that Jdub should currently be on pace to be selected to his first All-Star game in a couple months, but also, as the numbers suggest, Jalen Williams might actually be good enough to qualify as a number 1 option in a good team right now. Well, not that I want him to be as a Thunder fan, but all I'm saying is that simply calling Jdub a great number 2 option most likely undersells his game so far. So what's good everyone, it's Real Balls here, and today, let's dive into how Jdub became this good this quick and why he might already be better than most NBA stars. So let's get to it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo all belong to a group of superstars who constantly rank within the top 95th percentile of the NBA in terms of usage, given how their team's offense thrives the most with these guys having the ball in their hands. But obviously, even these heliocentric superstars need to have reliable second options alongside them. Jokic already has Jamal Murray, Giannis has Damian Lillard, and Luka Doncic has Kyrie Irving. Luckily for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, his second option, Jdub, actually might have the most ideal skill set you want to see from someone who wishes to thrive next to a high-usage primary scorer. Looking at it relative to those other second options, Jdub currently has a higher usage rate than Kyrie Irving and Jamal Murray, while having just a slightly lower usage than Damian Lillard. However, Jdub actually stands out when looking at how these players get their shots off, as this season, only 53.8% of Jdub's 2-point field goals have been self-created, a substantially lower mark compared to the 3 other players. The same also applies in terms of 3-point shooting, as only a tiny 18.7% of Jdub's 3-point field goals have been self-created, another substantially lower mark than Murray, Irving, and Lillard's self-creation rates. This tells us that Jdub is a type of high-usage player who can get buckets even without having the ball in his hands a huge chunk of the time. This is because he's comfortable functioning and moving without the ball, and is able to thrive by simply taking advantage of the holes in the defense, whether by cutting to the basket or getting himself open from behind the arc, and basically just playing off SGA scoring gravity. In this possession, you can see Shai snake dribbling in the middle of the Clippers' drop coverage, and you can see Jdub at the corner ready to make a cut. An extra dribble from Shai is enough to cause James Harden to take a nap, and this is when Jdub sneaks right into the baseline as Shai finds him underneath the basket for the easy slam. Then here in early offense, you can see Shai being hounded by Risa Shai right at midcourt, but Shai proceeds to attack the Hawks 2-3 zone. As expected, the defense collapses in the paint, which is when Jdub makes the cut as Shai throws him the perfectly timed lob at the basket. The biggest share of Jdub's shot attempts, though, still comes from behind the arc. Coach Daigneault usually deploys him right on the strong side with Shai, making him an easy passing outlet when the slightest double team comes. And Jdub has been making overhelping defenses pay, as he's currently shooting a highly efficient 44.9% on catch-and-shoot threes, which is the 15th most efficient mark among all 144 players to attempt at least 60 catch-and-shoot threes this season. But for sure, Jdub being able to break defenses off the ball doesn't mean he's simply receiving SGA scraps, and what actually makes him an elite second option is that he's also more than capable of creating efficient offense for himself. The Thunder's offense is designed to spread opponents out on the floor to create openings in the paint to be able to maximize SGA's elite driving game, and the good thing for OKC is, during the 14 minutes per game that Jdub is on the floor with Shai resting on the bench, Jdub is able to act as OKC's offensive engine without having to force the team to change their offensive schemes, because just like Shai, Jdub's scoring package is also built on a downhill-heavy attack. Well, Shai obviously ranks number 1 in the NBA when it comes to most driving metrics, but for the season, Jdub himself ranks in the top 30 of the league in both drives per game and points scored off those drives. He is an off-speed attacker who eats up a ton of space with the ball in his hands, who's capable of lulling defenders to sleep before he hits the gas. Jdub's not the most explosive player off the dribble, but he has the handle which allows him to maneuver through tight spaces, the strength to go up through contact, and worst comes to worst, he can deploy his 7'2" wingspan together with some creativity to be able to access more shot angles around the basket. This season, Jdub is shooting 66.1% within 3 feet of the basket, a mark which is well above league average, especially for a 6'6" player. And for context, other similarly sized players who happen to be number 1 options like LaMelo Ball and Cade Cunningham have substantially lower percentages from the same area. In this play, off from Caruso's handoff, Jdub attacks the defense of Andrew Wiggins right into the paint. He sees Kuminga about to help underneath, so he uses a quick step through to the right and still finishes off the tough angle. Then here in early offense, Jdub initiates the change of pace on Julian Champagnie. Sohan provides the help on the nail, but watch Jdub with a spin move and the smooth extension as the length just allows him to finish against the tough contest. But even when long and pesky defenders are able to cut off his initial driving angles, Jdub still has a plan B in the form of his mid-range jumper, which might even be more lethal. Against coverages which are tighter than usual, Jdub lowers his shoulder before hitting a sudden stop to dislodge his man, and from there, he gets to use his shooting touch via a variety of mid-range finishes. Right here, Jdub uses Chet's ball screen to power against the tight defense of Ayo Dosunmu. Watch him create space with a sudden pivot before rising up for the tough 14-foot mid-range shot. Then here, Jdub attacks off another ball screen, but this time he gets switched onto Draymond Green. He takes advantage of Green's backward momentum to draw contact before jumping off his plant foot as he finishes the Nowitzki-like fadeaway plus a foul. That mid-range jumper might actually be Jdub's most elite weapon. He's currently attempting the 18th most shots from the mid-range this season, and he's shooting a scorching 52.5% from that area, which is the second most efficient mark among all players ranking in the top 30 of mid-range shot attempts. But then, the efficient downhill attacking and the stop-and-pop mid-range game also just opens up Jdub's ability as a playmaker. He was already a primary playmaker in college, and in OKC, Jdub's had a seamless transition as a ball handler who knows how to make the right reads when he attracts 2 on the ball, and Jdub's just becoming more and more reliable as an on-ball decision maker, as this season, he's averaging a career-best 2.26 assist-to-turnover ratio, which is currently the 29th best mark in the entire NBA. More importantly, his ability to take advantage of his downhill attack has been even more magnified with the arrival of Isaiah Hartenstein, whose ability to act as either a roll man, a screener, or as a playmaking hub himself has been a perfect complement with Jdub's skill set both on and off the ball, which is mostly noticeable when the two are sharing the floor during non-SGA minutes. As during the games without Hartenstein this season, Jdub-led lineups with Shai on the bench have actually produced a minus 1.36 net rating, but after Hartenstein's return from injury, lineups with him and Jdub on the floor with Shai on the bench have actually been a plus 14.9 despite the relatively smaller sample size. Right here, you can see iHeart running a side pick and roll with Jdub, and you can see Jdub's gravity drawing Sengun closer to the ball. He disguises this move as a jumper before he actually dishes out the lob to Hartenstein for the slam. Right here though, Hartenstein operates as a passing hub from behind the arc. You can see Jdub standing at the corner, quickly jabbing to fake out his man before he runs to the baseline where Hartenstein finds him with a laser bounce pass. Jdub's statistical profile becomes even more favorable when you dive into the advanced numbers, as this season, the Bucks plus-minus metric, which equally factors in points, assists, rebounds, steals, and three-point shooting, gives Jdub the 6th highest BPM rating in the entire league, only behind Jokic, SGA, Giannis, Steph Curry, and Alperen Sengun, while the estimated plus-minus metric, which gives added emphasis on a player's defense, ranks Jdub as the 5th most impactful player in the league right now, only behind Jokic, Shai, Curry, and Jason Tatum. Speaking of which, what makes Jdub such a complete player is also the huge part he plays in OKC's historically elite defense right now. Jdub is a smart and ultra-switchable defender who's got great hands. He's currently averaging 2 steals per game, which is the 4th most in the entire league, while also averaging the 12th most deflections per game this season. He's quick enough to navigate ball screens and to stick with ball handlers, whether tracking them away from the ball or guarding them in a 2-man game. Right here, you can see Jdub guarding Svi Mykhailiuk off the ball. Watch how Jdub stalks him off the handoff and how he just uses the guy's off-the-dribble momentum to straight up strip the ball away from him as he forces the stop and gets the easy slam in transition. Again here, you can see Jdub guarding Devin Booker off the ball, but the quick pass in the ghost screen forces him to get switched to Ryan Dunn. But as he seemingly moves away from the ball, watch how he sneakily turns and snatches the ball away from Booker. This leads to an easy 3-on-1 possession for OKC, which ends with another Jdub slam. Well, it's not that he can't, but Jdub isn't asked to take the most difficult defensive assignments on a nightly basis, which for him has been one benefit of being part of the NBA's best defensive team who literally owns a stockpile of switchable dog defenders. However, that doesn't mean Jdub didn't take on a huge load defensively this season. Well, over the past 2 years, we've already seen Jdub play small ball center in some minutes, but during the 5.5 games that neither one of Chet Holmgren nor Hartenstein was in the lineup this season, Jdub was inserted as the team's starting center, and he actually averaged 1.5 blocks and 2.5 steals in those games, all while displaying his vertical pop, shot blocking instincts, and disruptive hands while acting as an undersized rim protector for OKC. Here, you can see Jdub guarding Pelicans big man Yves Missi around the dunker spot, but on the strong side, as Ingram makes a pass to his roll man, watch Jdub get up for the one-handed block. Javonte Green recovers the ball, but Jdub comes back for another swat, which gives OKC the possession. All in all, I think you could already put Jdub among the ranks of other second options like Jaylen Brown, Pascal Siakam, or Bam Adebayo, who are all capable of playing a highly switchable and disruptive brand of defense. Although none of those players actually looked as offensively polished as Jdub during their age 23 seasons. Well, for sure, there's no guarantee that Jdub's trajectory will lead him into becoming someone like Shai or even someone like Jimmy Butler or Devin Booker, as guards who are perennial all-stars and consistent all-NBA locks. But if any, what Jdub has shown during the first 2.5 seasons of his career indicates that there's a huge chance that he will land that same path. A 23-year-old who's averaging 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists on solid efficiency while playing for the best team in the Western Conference is definitely special. And what's for sure is that if OKC is going to win it all this season, it's because they have 2 elite guards. One of them just happens to play center sometimes. So if you guys did enjoy this video, please do me a favor by hitting that like button. It only takes a second of your time, but it will be much appreciated. Also, feel free to drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Again, this has been Real Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.